Hello everybody, my name is Happy and I'd like to welcome you all to my History Reaction channel. Today is Thursday, so we're returning for some more history through music, and it's time for some more Sabaton. This one will be Father. As always, I will include a link to the original video in the description down below. If you enjoy this, please head over to Sabaton. Show them some love and support, however you want to do that. Like, subscribe, comment, buy some merch, buy a ticket to one of their concerts. Let them know you appreciate them. We always want to support guys who come up with history-themed music. I love music. I love history. I love groups like this who do this kind of thing. Even though I'm not even close to a metalhead, I appreciate what they do, and I've enjoyed a lot of their videos because of that. And this one, I'm sure, will be no exception. Normally, I'd be going into this with no idea what to expect. Unfortunately, I have been tipped off that this is about Fritz Haber. So that's what I know about this going in. So, a little spoiler, but not a huge spoiler. I know very little about Fritz Haber other than what I learned in my history of science class, but I will try to contribute what I can. Might be more than I expect. Sometimes I say I don't know much, and then I end up like, oh, I remember this. Oh, yeah, there was this too. Other times I just stare at the screen and going, yeah, I don't remember anything. We'll see which this is. In any case, let's just go ahead and get into this. Here we go. Great World War I imagery. Gotta be World War I. With all this chlorine gas.
Russia, young men with great ambitions rise. So who can tell me, who can say for sure which one will win the Nobel Prize? It was a golden age for science. The Kaiserreich would hold the key. And as the conflict came and tensions rose, the Manifesto of the 93. Haber-Bosch, the great alliance, where's the contradiction? The world by ways of science till the road of saint. Father of toxic gas and chemical warfare, his creation has been revealed. The war in no man's land, a poisonous nightmare, a deadly mist on the battlefield.
Alright, so we've gone through the first verse and the chorus. Let's go back and break this down quite a bit here. So we'll just start right here.
For science, the Kaiserreich would hold the key.
So they talked about in Eastern Prussia, some men will arise, and it's the golden age of science. The Kaiserreich will hold the key. All that is accurate. This is the period where we're going into World War I. Haber is a chemist. He's a very, very well-known chemist. And he is going to play a major role in the war through his process, the Haber-Bosch process, which we'll talk about in just a second. This is the period of the Kaiser. And, yeah, let's just see where else this goes. We'll break some more.
Conflict came and tensions rose, the Manifesto of the 93.
So that's a reference to the Manifesto of the 93. That was at the beginning of World War I when Germany invades through Belgium. There are a lot of accusations of war crimes and atrocities right from the beginning. 93 German scientists come together to basically state that, yes, we are contributing to the war, but we want no part of these atrocities. Our discoveries, our inventions are being used to defend our country, no more, no less. So it's just a declaration that we are not here to commit atrocities. We're here to defend ourselves. And among the signers are going to be Haber, Bosch, I assume, is a signer. I think Max Planck is as well. possibly others, but I think those three for sure.
Haber-Bosch, the great alliance. Where's the contradiction? Fed the world by ways of science. Didn't what I say.
Okay, I think this is going to be your pivotal crux of this whole video. I think this is going to be the theme because, yeah, they emphasize Haber-Bosch. That is a process that was Haber comes up with the basic process itself, the ability to take oxygen and nitrogen from the air and under pressure create nitrates. Bosch comes along and comes up with a way to make this work on an industrial level. So Haber comes up with a process, Bosch comes up with a way to make it possible on a large scale. That is the great alliance between the two. What this process does is it creates nitrates, and famously in this particular case, this is the process they use to create around half of the modern world's fertilizers. So a significant portion of the food that we produce globally is thanks to this process. So Haber and Bosch create this process that is, a lot of us owe our food to them, especially developing countries that really are desperate for food supplies, places where there are severe famines or not great soil and so on. This process is critical for them. And over the century and a half since they came up with this, I can't even imagine how many people have benefited from this, how many people have managed to live through famines because of this, how many famines have been avoided or minimized or reduced because of this. So, sinner or saint, Haber is instrumental in early chemical warfare, but he's also instrumental in dealing with 20th century and subsequent food production and feeding an ever-growing world. So he's got this good, he's got this bad. Does one outweigh the other, and if so, by how much? That is going to be the central question of this video, I'm sure. There is a flip side to Haber-Bosch, though. Not only is Haber a major figure in chemical warfare, which I'm sure we're going to emphasize more as we get into this, but the very process itself creates nitrates, which were used for fertilizers, but they're also used to make explosives. Nitroglycerin, nitrates are used to make explosives as well. So his process is one of those things that allows places like Germany to continue producing explosives even when other nations have them blockaded and cut off from their import sources, places that they're getting external nitrates from. So he helps the war in that context as well.
Father of toxic gas and chemical warfare.
That's debatable. Father of chemical warfare, you might make a better argument for, because he is involved in making chemical warfare more effective, reach wider areas, better deployment, things like that. Toxic gas was being used before he came along by both the Germans and the French, at the very least, probably others as well. He did not come up with that idea. He was not there making the earliest incarnations of this. But he becomes instrumental in making it a lot more effective. So, nurturer of toxic gas, and arguably father of chemical warfare, because he makes it truly viable, or helps make it truly viable, as a large-scale attack.
His creation has been repeatable in no man's land, a poisonous nightmare, a deadly mist on the battlefield. Perversions of ideals ideals of science, those words of alienated wife.
Okay, let's continue, because let me play this whole thing through first, and then we'll come back.
Versions of ideals of science, those words of alienated wife. And in the trenches of the Western Front, unknowing soldiers pay the price. And on the battlefield they're dying, and on the fields the crops are grown. So who can tell us what is right or wrong? That's all morality alone. Haber-Bosch, the great alliance, where's the contradiction?
Hey, we're back to the chorus. We'll play through it, and I'll play through the chorus again. But let's go back and break down this part. Okay, we'll start right about here.
Versions of ideals of science, those words of alienated wife.
Okay, so that first had quotes on it, so they're attributing it to his first wife. And I'm sorry, I don't remember her name. I don't think we know that is attributed to her. I don't know that we know for sure she ever said it. I think that's why they say lost words of alienated wife. It's attributed, but it's not confirmed that she said that. But we do know that she opposed Fritz's deployment of chemical warfare. She ends up killing herself during World War I. I think it was during the war. And a lot of people attribute that to Fritz Haber's participation in the war, especially at the Battle of Second Ypres, where he is personally overseeing the deployment of chlorine gas, which he is a big proponent of during this war. Their marriage was already on rocky ground, from what I understand. She already had a lot of issues, but having her husband out there using chemistry to kill people on large scale, because she was a chemist too. She was one of the very first women in Germany, if not the first woman in Germany, to get a PhD in chemistry, and may have been among some of the first in the world, as far as I know. I'm not sure about that. But in Germany, I think she was one of the very first, if not the first. And she did see this as a perversion of science. And she does end up killing herself. So alienated wife is a great way to describe this.
And in the trenches of the Western Front, unknowing soldiers pay the price. And on the battlefield they're dying, and on the fields the crops are grown.
Yeah, so great juxtaposition there. On one side, we have soldiers dying from his chemical warfare. On the other hand, he's saving lives with his artificial fertilizer. So who can tell us?
Who can tell us what is right or wrong? That's all morality alone. Haber-Bosch, the great alliance, where's the contradiction? Fed the world by ways of science, sinner or a saint. Father of toxic gas and chemical warfare, his creation has been revealed over no man's land, a poisonous nightmare, a deadly mist on the battlefield. Father of toxic gas and chemical warfare, his creation has been revealed over no man's land, a poisonous nightmare, a deadly mist on the battlefield.
Okay, we're going to stop it there because that is a paraphrase of a famous quote, also attributed to Haber. And I say attributed because I don't know that we know for sure he ever said it, but it is popularly attributed to him, and it's fairly well known. In times of peace, I belong to the world. In times of war, I belong to my country, is pretty close to what the quote actually is. So that little intermission there, we're close to the end, so it's not really an intermission, but that transition there it's a great question, because we often cannot foresee where inventions or innovations or great discovery will ultimately lead. Sometimes they lead to great places, sometimes they lead to dark places. Often they lead to places that were completely unexpected to the people who came up with them. And we kind of see this here with the Haber-Bosch process. They created it to produce nitrates for fertilizers. Great goal. Military immediately realizes that, hey, this can also be used to make explosives. Yeah. And of course, his talent is going to be diverted to chemical warfare. But even the process he made, even if he had nothing but the best ideals when he made it, it can't be used for dark designs, for weapons. And these, by far, this is not uncommon, this is normal. A lot of inventions end up being used, and discovery can be used for things they weren't intended for. Another example similar to this would be Alfred Nobel coming up with dynamite to help miners in particular with their jobs, only to have the military take a look at it and going, oh, boom, boom, sticks, perfect. We know what to do with these. And the reverse can be true as well. People can come up with great military innovations that can be used for peaceful or benevolent means. An example that comes to the top of my head would be Bluetooth. The technology behind that, some of the technology behind that, was developed during World War II by none other than Hedy Lamarr, the Hollywood actress, who was concerned about the ability to jam guided torpedoes. He came up with a device that would allow them to scramble the signals from guided torpedoes in a predictable way that people who knew the secret code, so to speak, would be able to translate in order to guide the missile, but enemies would not be able to successfully hack because the frequency or amplitude, I don't remember which frequency, I think, it's hopping randomly or seemingly randomly all over the place. In reality, what she basically did was take the same technology that makes player pianos or music boxes work to cause the signal waves to jump all over the place. But if you know what that tune will be, you can match it and use that to guide. And that ultimately is part of the foundation of Bluetooth later on. And there's many, many other things like that. So it can work both ways. It has throughout history. A lot of our greatest peacetime innovations come out of war. Some of our best war inventions come out of peacetime. And were invented for entirely different purposes. So yeah.
Where's the contradiction? Fed the world by ways of science till the order saint. Father of toxic gas and chemical warfare, his dark creation has been revealed over no man's land, a poisonous nightmare, a deadly mist on the battlefield. Father of toxic gas and chemical warfare, his dark creation has been revealed over no man's land, a poisonous nightmare, a deadly mist on the battlefield.
All right, another great video from Sabaton. Please go show them some support. The one thing that they don't talk about in regard to Haber that I think is interesting, and we'll mention it real quick, is he was born a Jew. He's ethnically Jewish. He converted to Protestantism later in life, fairly early though, I think. And he was very much a German nationalist. He believed in Germany. He believed in his country. That's why he supports them during World War I. But of course, World War II is coming, and we all know how that's going to go for people of Jewish ancestry. In Haber's case, he believes he's going to be protected because of his reputation during World War I and his contributions to the science of the country, and the fact that he had converted to Protestantism so early on. He thought that would provide him enough protection from this growing National Socialist movement going on in Germany that will eventually give rise to the No-No Germans. The reality, though, was a little different. He did become the head of a school. I don't remember which one for sure. And the school was denounced publicly as a haven for Jews who were being educated to try to become better than the proper Germans. And of course, this was a big problem for the National Socialist movement. Haber did get a letter saying that you need to remove all Jews from your school. I'm sure staff, I'm not sure if that applied to students, I would assume so. And Haber delayed as long as he could get away with to give the Jews in the school time to prepare and to get out of the country smoothly and efficiently. But he could only delay so long. And once the Jews were out, he tendered his resignation and went into self-imposed exile. Or at least that's how I understand it. I have heard some people say that he was exiled by the Germans. I think he chose to get out of the country on his own ahead of the potential exile or worse that might be coming. He had this kind of warning when he was ordered to get rid of the Jews in his school. In any case, he did get out of the country, whether it was intentionally on his part or forced, because he understood that his conversion, his early conversion and his contributions should protect him, but should is kind of a weak word when we're talking about the National Socialists of this period. So he wasn't taking the chances. So he did leave the country, at least for a while. I don't remember, or I don't even know if I ever learned if he ever came back or not. What I know about him doesn't really extend that far. I just know that he left. If anybody knows the details of why he left and whether he came back or not, feel free to share them down in the comment if you want to. I know some of you are passionate about Sabaton and about this guy in particular, so let me know if you know, because I'd like to know. With that said, we will be back next week for some more music videos, probably, but no promises. Epic rap battles. I typically alternate between them and Sabaton, but occasionally I throw in a curveball. Not planning to, but I might have something pop up on my feed and decide, we need to change the pace. Let's do this. You never know. So, in any case, we'll have another music video next Thursday. Till then, thank you for joining me. See you next time. Bye-bye.